Today and every day of my presidency, I pledge to do everything I can to continue that promise of freedom for African Americans and for every American. So important, nothing more important. This tour is a meaningful reminder of why we have to fight bigotry, intolerance, and hatred in all of its very ugly forms. The anti-Semitic threats targeting our Jewish community and community centers are horrible and are painful and a very sad reminder of the work that still must be done to root out hate and prejudice and evil.
If Trump knew and his advisors had told him, go to the African American Museum and apologize to Jews, I don't know what the hell that was all about. Why would you want to apologize to Jews at the African American Museum? And if you're going to apologize to Jews at the African American Museum, don't bring Ivanka, bring Jared, who is a Jew. I know that Ivanka has converted to Judaism, whatever that means. But Jared Kushner is a stomp-down Jew.
Yes.
So if you're going to make the apology, why not have your son-in-law standing there beside you? Does that make sense? Or am I just being racist and hateful?
But here's the thing, Pastor, based on what you just said. When he did Black History initially, when he had that first press conference, he had his two token Negroes sitting beside him.
Right.
When he went to this museum, he had his two token Negroes with him there.
Right.
So I would think, just as you just stated, if you're going to speak about the Jewish people, wouldn't it make sense to have your Jewish son-in-law there, whom, by the way, you brought up in the press conference that you have a Jewish son-in-law, you have three beautiful Jewish, grandchildren. That would have made sense.
But let me ask you one other question. I said I wasn't going to promise. I promised not to inflict myself on. Let me take that promise back and make this as a final promise not to inflict myself upon you any further. Do you think this boy, Tribulation Donald Jackass Trump, is sick? Because why go to a black museum and apologize to Jews? Yeah. He went there to say he thinks it's horrible that Jewish cemeteries are being vandalized and Jewish community centers are being threatened with bombs.
So he had to do that at the Hamite
Why did he do
Museum.
it at a Jewish place?
In the Hamite Museum. Interesting.
Is this boy drunk? I swear, Sabbath.
He's past drunk.
Why didn't he do it at a Jewish? Why didn't he go to a Jewish and call up one of the local rabbis here in New York? You know, we got one down there in Washington.
Yeah.
Say, hey, Rabbi, hey, can I talk to you? Go out there to Williamsburg, with the Orthodox boys with the long black hats and everything, and say it out there.
And the thing is the timing.
Crown Heights.
The thing is the timing of it. I mean, there have been so many attacks.
Right.
And he chooses now. He should have dealt with that a long time ago. But he chose to deal with it now while he was at the museum.
Well, let me ask you a question because, they've been attacking, ever since his election, there's been this massive threats and attacks against the Jewish fellowships and congregations. This has been going on, swastikas and everything.
Yeah.
But he never said anything. A Jewish fellow with a Jewish skull cap and the Jewish curls on him, saw him the other day. And the press conference last Thursday, Trump told him to shut up, sit down.
There are people who are committing anti-Semitic acts or threatening to.
You see, he said he was going to ask a very simple, easy question. And it's not.
It's an important
It's not a simple question, not a fair question. Okay, sit down. I understand the rest of your question.
Did you see that?
I saw.
I'm not lying, Sabbath. Trump told him to sit down.
Yeah, I saw. And his best response was, I have a daughter who's Jewish, a son-in-law, 3 beautiful grandchildren. It's almost like the same way when when someone calls a Japheth a racist, they say, no, but I have black friends. It was the same response. Well, no, my son-in-law is Jewish. My grandchildren are Jewish. But, same old, same old. Yeah.
What? Is there something that he thinks that blacks and Jews are together on something? And I think to some degree, I guess that they are. But there are plenty of Jewish museums that he could have gone to.
Yeah.
In fact, the director of the Anne Frank Museum, did you say that? What that
I
was?
saw that.
Good Lord, have mercy.
Yeah,
you said?
He said it was like a Band-Aid.
On cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So, I figured this. I don't. You can say he's just crazy, don't know any better. I'm not willing to go that far. There had to be a method to this. Going to an African American museum and apologizing to Jews. I swear. And then don't bring the one Jew you have with you that says you are for Jews. You leave that Jew home and you get two niggas who ain't got 2 cents worth of soul brother in them to be with you. Where's Darrell Scott? Where was the diversity community?
Yeah,
That
that he has.
Yeah, he has a whole lot of these
Yeah, he
Hamites
does.
in the diversity community. Why didn't they come with him?
They didn't want to.
You think that's the reason? No, I'm serious.
I think they don't want to.
You go to the African, I think they're scared to show their face in the hood.
And even with Darrell Scott, who has been close with him throughout the entire campaign, you hardly really see him now. Though he may still be on an organization related to Tribulation Trump, you don't really see him.
On this one, Omarosa wasn't even with him. This is really bizarre. I mean, if you're going to apologize to Jews, get your Jewish grandchildren, sit down in a rocking chair, put one grandchild on one knee. These are all Jews. They all go to synagogue. They're all going to be bar mitzvahed. Get your Jewish son-in-law and let him stand on one side, your Jewish daughter stand on the other side, and say, so you call me anti-Semite? You got to be out your mind. I live with Jews every day. Why don't they do it that way? So,
you know, the thing about it, Pastor, he just said this was a meaningful reminder of why we have to fight bigotry. And I'm thinking to myself, all of the racist acts that have taken place throughout the presidential campaign and during the inauguration, those weren't meaningful. Those weren't reminders to him that he needs to address the country as a whole about racism and bigotry. It took for him to go to the African American Museum to get a meaningful reminder of bigotry and hatred. When he watches the TV every day, all day, I know that he's seen all of these reminders of racism that has taken place during his presidency. So it's just absolutely absurd that he would make a comment like that.
you know, the absurdity is in your response is probably the understatement, but I think Trump traffics in absurdity, you know. But Trump needs to apologize for his racism against the Central Park Five.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
He plastered the New York papers with filth and racism against those 5 boys, and they were found not to be guilty of raping a white woman, and he still will not. He still says they're guilty.
And he won't. Yeah, he's never going to apologize.
So why don't he? You know, if he really wants. And the other thing is that, you know, he's never been to Harlem. I mean, and I forgave him for that.
Yeah.
But Trump has lived in New York City all his life, and he's never been to Harlem, not one time. And you would think that, I've said this enough, that somebody would show a picture of Trump in Harlem. And he's never been to Harlem because he hates niggas.
That's right.
And Harlem has been nigger heaven, and he ain't coming. You know, so he needs to apologize for that.